When we read the Gospel of Matthew after Mark and John, we quickly notice a different tone, where Mark is brief and restrained, almost silent at times, and John lifts his gaze toward the cosmos and eternity. Matthew teaches. Matthew explains. He organizes his material and places Yeshua firmly within a Jewish framework. Matthew is the most Jewish of the four Gospels. It assumes familiarity with the Tanakh, with Moses, with the prophets, and of Abraham and David. This is not primarily biography, it is theology. It is a way of saying that this life must be understood within Israel's story. Again and again, Matthew uses the phrase, so that what was spoken through the prophet might be fulfilled. He uses this fixed fulfillment formula around 10 times throughout the Gospel. In addition, there are many more allusions to the Tanakh, where texts, motifs, and narrative patterns are reused without being quoted directly. These phrases function as editorial signals. They tell the listener how to read the story, not as simple historical reporting, but as theological interpretation within a Jewish horizon. This is where the theological layers become visible. Several of the most well-known episodes in Matthew have a clearly midrashic character. The story of the massacre of the children in Bethlehem mirrors Pharaoh's killing of the Hebrew boys in Egypt. The flight to Egypt and the return from it follow the same pattern as Israel's own story. Yeshua is presented as a new Moses, not through explicit claims, but through narrative structure. The star, the magi, and the dreams in the infancy narrative also belong to this tradition. They communicate theological meaning rather than historical precision. The message is not primarily that these things happened in exactly this way. The message is what it means that they happen at all. God guides, God intervenes, and Israel's story continues. This does not mean that the gospel is fiction in a modern sense. It means that it is written within a Jewish storytelling tradition. A tradition in which truth is expressed through resonance, parallels, and symbolism. Matthew writes theology through narrative. This awareness also helps us understand the long discourses in the gospel. Here, Yeshua is presented as a teacher, as an interpreter of Torah, not as one who abolishes the law, but as one who draws it toward intention, mercy, and inner truth. You have heard that it was said, but I say to you. This is classic Jewish interpretation, not a rupture. In Matthew, ethics carry real weight. Judgment, responsibility, and consequence are recurring themes, but judgment is always tied to action, not to confessional formulas. What you did or failed to do for the least of these is the measure. Here, Torah, the prophets, and Yeshua converge in a single ethical center. The Christology in Matthew is clearer than in Mark, yet still grounded. Yeshua is Messiah, son of David, representative of Israel, but he is not yet the cosmic Logos. Matthew stands in the middle of a theological development, in a space between. Much suggests that this gospel was written after the destruction of the temple, at a time when the community had to redefine itself. Without the temple, teaching ethics and communal life become central. Matthew responds not with systematic dogma, but with story, interpretation, and guidance. Where Mark lets silence speak, and John lifts the mystery into eternity, Matthew asks a more down-to-earth question. If this is true, how then shall we live? Thank you for listening. If you found this reflection meaningful, you are welcome to share it. You are also invited to leave a comment, offer a correction, or add your own perspective. Thoughtful dialogue helps deepen understanding. Peace and blessing.